Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're doing something kind of fun, and it has to do with the youngest member of our family, who in many ways saved us through the pandemic. But dogs have been part of the ecosystem for tens of thousands of years when they got domesticated, and they are unconditional in their love. And so we wanted to do a little special on our buddy Carmelo. So let's begin. Hey guys, Dr. Nene here. I practice as a cardiothoracic, vascular, and general surgeon, and I'm now a health tech innovator who wants to improve lifespans and lifestyles. So stay healthy, stay curious, and keep watching. So it's very clear that pets, and in particular dogs for us, but pets in general, are amazing in terms of health benefits. They give you unconditional love. The greetings you get when you come home are just phenomenal. The amount of responsibility that you have for walking them and working out, you'll be forced to get up every morning and get up and go. In India, it's a little different because you have people around, but in the US, I remember we had to let them out, we had to do everything with them. But that kind of forces you to do that. Then the next thing is they've been used in hospitals and as emotional support animals, and they've been used in all kinds of settings. Obviously, there's working dogs who herd sheep in war times, and in also police work and stuff like that. And then there's dogs like this guy who is your most friendly, common pie dog, Paria in India.
They're also seeing dogs, like
seeing eye dogs.
Seeing eye dogs. There are dogs who are trained to tell the patient when he's going to get an epileptic attack. When people suffering from epilepsy, they have dogs. They basically save their lives,
COVID sniffing dogs.
Not just that, there are rescue dogs who work during disasters, and they help find people who are under the rubble, and they really, really help us in our lives. And I think they're very, very precious.
So I think we owe a lot to these humble creatures, and what they give you in return is just priceless. So
every time, even when we go out just for an hour and we come back, the way they greet you is amazing. It's like as if they haven't seen you for a long time. They are all over you, and they give you so much love. It's just unimaginable.
100%.
And completely unconditional.
I mean, the funny part is I'll come home, the kids and Madhuri are over watching a movie, and this guy will not hesitate to be all over me, greeting me at the door, and he'll be like the only guy doing that.
So, Sohan ma'am, tell us Melo's story.
It's a long story. We had Ria before Melo, and she was with us for 7 years. She was also adopted from the streets, and she passed away with cancer. So we all were like mourning for her, and we were really sad. And Ram wanted another dog, and I think I was not ready at that time. I said, you know what, it's just so hard when you lose, because they become like a family member, and when you lose them, you feel so sad and so bad. And I said, I don't think we are ready to get another dog, because we still have Ria's memories, and it's so hard. So he wanted one for his birthday. He'll never stop talking about it. But I said no, and then the kid's birthday came up, and Peter called us up that they had found this little puppy in the traffic. He was all alone. He was just 2.5 months old, and somebody picked him up from there and gave it to Peter. And they said, we know you had Ria and she passed away. Would you like, another dog? And it was my kid's birthday, so.
And this was like in 2019. And so I knew that if I took the kids to see the dog, we were done. And this guy was along with, so we work with PETA to help them get dogs adopted through our social media, fans and whatnot. And we're ardent supporters of, animal welfare and animal rights. And so their office is near my office, and so I went there, and they had 3 dogs who were abandoned or abused or whatnot, and he was found in Bandra, and then they thought he was so cute because he was tiny and precious, but he was also teething, and they couldn't handle that. So instead of doing the right thing, they put him on the street. Someone did. PETA fortunately found him and then called me and said, "Hey, look, I've got this puppy. Can you foster him or, take care of him?" And I said, "Sure, let me come take a look." And there were 3 of them. I was going to adopt all 3, but we had a small apartment, couldn't handle all the people and 3 new puppies. And so this guy, when the kids saw him and Madhuri saw him, we were done. And he came home, and he was a bundle of joy. He was a handful. He chewed through all kinds of things, including our ankles.
And then Ram said, like, yeah, you wouldn't buy him for my birthday, but you bought it for the kid's birthday.
You know how that is out there.
But really, when we saw him, I mean, we just fell in love with him because he was so active and he was jumping around, and immediately we thought of Anthony Carmelo.
Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah,
so,
Carmelo
So what
Anthony.
happened is they had named him Caramel, and that's not a boy dog's name. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but he was like the caramel color, and so they named him after the caramel. And I'm like, this guy cannot be caramel, and he was very boisterous. So Carmelo Anthony was one of the ball players who I had watched, and so we called him Carmelo, Mellow for short, because he's hardly mellow, and so it's kind of a spoof on that. And so then he ended up in our house in 2019,
Yeah.
2019, like March. And as the year progressed, this guy grew with us, and then the pandemic hit. And this guy was like one of the saviors of the household because all of the people who came into contact with him were so happy. And you're so focused on so many things going on around you that you forget, and these guys don't have that perception as much as you and I do. So as a result of that, he kept us alive in some ways.
And he kept us entertained all the time because he was so mischievous. He used to love to play, and he's very smart, so we could teach him a lot of tricks, and he's very treat driven, so it was very easy to train him. And really, I mean, he was our savior during the lockdown.
He was 3 months when we got him, and now he's like, almost 2019, almost four years. And he was born, I think, in 18 December, and he was like 3 months when we got him. And he was tiny, and he will never go bigger than this, but he's perfect.
Why would you encourage people to adopt and not shop?
Right. So there's so many amazing animals out there who don't have homes and are often on the street and whatnot. And so, what our thought is and what our wish would be is that you give them a home and they will be your constant companions throughout your life. Now, the difficult part is it's not a simple proposition, right? Don't do it because they're cute and they're loving and all the other stuff if you can't take care of them, because you're making a 14 to 20 year commitment, plus or minus, and it's something where they are perpetual 2-year-olds after they grow up. Having said that, this guy is a pariah, and so these guys have very diverse genetic pools. As a result, they're very healthy, right? And they don't, have some of the problems. They're uniquely suited to the Indian subcontinent.
Yeah.
And
Environment, the heat, and they don't constantly need the air conditioner or anything. They're very hardy. They are so loyal. They're very family oriented, and very, very loving. So I think this is a great breed, and we have so many of them on the street. So if people adopt instead of buying, I think we will be giving so many homeless dogs homes where they'll be loved and cared for.
And I think to further that, they don't need a lot of grooming. They basically self-groom. This guy's constantly trimming his nails, licking himself, taking care of
They're
himself.
very, very clean. They always keep themselves
And they're
clean.
good guard dogs.
And they don't even smell. They don't have the dog
Odor.
smell or the odor. And all you have to do is just bathe them or groom them if you want. Once in 15 days or even once a month is good enough. They love home food, home cooked food. So we kind of mix up a little bit of his dog food with the food we cook at home, like rice or whatever's been cooked. He loves vegetables, he loves broccoli, and he loves, he's a good bacha. He eats his greens. So it's always amusing and amazing to the way, you know, they behave with you and the kids. He's so protective about my kids. They are very, they're like guard dogs. They'll guard your home. Whoever's at the door, just his bark is enough to, you know, scare anyone at the door.
You can ask the film team today because you can't see the size of the dog.
But he's a sweetheart. So he will just come. He'll bark at first, but once he knows that it's a friendly, he'll come and he'll just smell you and he's make sure everything's okay. So it's I think it's great to have them as your pet.
Huge fans of Indies because I would say, you know, when we got him, our trainer and our vet were a little worried because Indies can be territorial depending on when you adopt them. And the key to that is we brought a trainer in early. And to be honest, the trainer trained us more than the dog because this is my second dog ever. And I grew up with cats actually. And Ria was my first and she was 5 years old when I got her in.
Yeah, it's a good idea to get a trainer in and, you know, understand their language because you have to, you know, behave.
Not the trainer's language, right?
No, not the trainer's, the dog's language, of course.
Yeah.
So they train you to understand them and how to behave with them. What's a no-no with them? What's good for them? How you, you know, don't cross their limits. Like sometimes people get attacked because they didn't understand what the dog was trying to tell them, and so they get bitten. So they help you understand all that, and so it's a great idea once you have a dog to get a trainer in and learn how to behave with them.
And you can do that as a group, so it's
Yeah.
affordable. You can do it through YouTube videos these days. But I think the idea is, you know, it's a combination of worlds. And we need to be humble in the sense that I don't even understand my kid's world, let alone my dog. But the other thing the trainer taught me, the dog teaches me lessons like you have to be the coolest person in the room for him to come follow you.
Yeah.
And so if you've got the stick, if you've got the ball to play with, you've got something. So, you know, that sort of reflects on life in a way, because you forget how arrogant you get and say, look, because of what I've done in my life, you should follow me. Well, it doesn't work that way. You have to go and appease the other party. And that's true about life too, right? That you have to be cool and you have to look at things differently. I would say the other thing with these guys is, as she said, they're excellent guard dogs. They generally will not bite, but if you know you mistreat them or do something like that, it's like anything else. This guy is special in that when your mom was around, she would go down with the dog, and all the kids and all the people would come to him and come to her mom, and he's now used by the trainers to train other dogs because he's so calm, hence the name Mellow, and then also to train people with phobias. And so there's a lot of people in some of the buildings we've lived in who have phobias, and they maybe had a bad incident with a collection or a pack of dogs. They didn't know how to behave and read the language, or alternatively, they, you know, were growled at or whatever. And so there's like telltale signs like the ears, the tail, the back, and things you learn about them. And so even now for us, having, you know, grown up with him, so to say, we've sort of learned their language to some degree. Now, the kids, growing up with an animal, with a pet of some sort, also made them a little more responsible, because this was one more element that they had to address. And to be honest with you, it was an element besides their parents. Kids can get bored pretty quick, and so...
No, even kids understand that, you know, how to take care of someone else, how to look after them, that when you have a dog, you know, just the fact that they have to take him for a walk or they have to care for him, play with him, I think even they understand that there are responsibilities, and not only with the dog but also in life you will have responsibilities for which you'll have to work towards. And so I think the kids kind of understand that earlier on once they have a pet in the house.
So questions we get asked are, do you just feed the dog whatever you eat? If you feed them and they eat a balanced diet, it's fine. But the problem is, otherwise, you need to make an effort to feed them different types of things so that their coat, their muscles, their nails, all the things develop properly. It's just like humans, right? You need a balanced diet. A lot of times that means buying a store-bought diet, but we mix it up with store-bought and with home-cooked. And the crazy thing is, this guy had allergies to certain things, which we figured out because he would scratch all the time, his hair would fall out, and whatnot. And so we had to go to a vet's and figure that out. So again, that's something that it often doesn't happen on the street. He's probably the best groomed indie dog that you've ever seen, and probably.
No, I think people don't understand when they get dogs that they are like human beings. They will be sick sometimes. They will require to be looked after. And I have seen a lot of people don't expect that. And when they get a dog, it's all about the cuteness of the dog. And once he starts growing and they understand that, oh, it's like having another person in the house, that they start feeling, oh my God, what have we done? So I think even if when you go and say, okay, we will need to get a dog, please research on dogs, the kind of dog you want to get, what kind of food it requires, how much food it requires, what kind of care it requires, because that's very, very important before you get him into your family. Because if you discover that later on, then people are abandoning their dogs, which is not I don't think it's very good for the dog. So I would say that make very sure about what breed you're going to get. But I would say that the indie breeds are the best because they don't require, and they don't have so many genetic issues and problems, health problems especially.
So one more thing to add to that, make sure you have a place in your life when you get a responsibility like this. It's like having a child, no? That if you just get it, I often see dog walkers walking all the dogs. If you get a smushy pet, you may as well get a stuffed toy, because that would be better for you than getting a smushy pet like this. And then for the first month or two, it's a cool thing. And then after that, you don't have any time because you're traveling or you're doing other things. Just remember that this is a living, breathing person, organism, and you have to really enjoy the experience. And honestly, the greetings you get, if I could say one thing, and my friends have said it to me, that people who have never had animals or pets, and to be honest with you, growing up, my mom had been bitten by a dog, so therefore she never wanted a dog. There were other reasons that she'd put up, but it turned out that was it. The cats were great, and my cats weren't really standoffish. They were actually more like dogs. So it's how you raise them too. It's just like humans, kids, families, right? But remember that if you're gonna take on a responsibility, you can't just do it for the holiday. Otherwise, you're compromising yourself and others, and most of all, this loving being. And the worst thing you can do is abandon a dog, because dogs are so attached to their one master that it breaks their heart when someone abandons them. And it happens. Rather than that, if you can't take care of them, then put them up for adoption. And there's so many
because
services
they
out there.
also they're like little children. They also need to get vaccinated from time to time, making sure everything is on par. And you have to visit the vet and make sure he's healthy, with his teeth and this and that, everything. So it's like having a child basically. So you have to understand that before you think that it's just a cute little thing you want to play with and that's it.
But if you're ready for that challenge,
Yeah.
I assure you that these are some of those magnificent
Yes.
companions that you'll ever have. And it is a little sad because you will outlive them more than likely. And so you're going to see multiple, things. After Rhea, it was very hard for her. 9 months, she was my walking companion on the beach. And I didn't ever want to have a dog again because it was so painful to watch her go. And then eventually I said, you know what? The experiences I had with her were amazing.
Amazing memories.
Yeah. And life's all about memories, family, and friends, right? The rest is window dressing. What you have, how much you have to eat, place over your head, all, things which come and go. But what doesn't is the people and the memories that you generate from that. And, these guys, the animals you have in your life. So in summary, having a pet, and in particular a dog for us, has been a monumental paradigm shift. And as soon as the fur baby comes into the house, the whole dynamic changes. It's like having kids to some degree. It's just that these guys grow up to be 2-year-olds. And so the responsibilities you take on have to be considered before you do it. If you're ready for that, the kind of love you get is, immeasurable. And then finally, in terms of the different things you can do, all of the breeds that have been kind of perpetuated over time for purposes like shepherds, corgis, terriers, all that have been purpose-built, even some of the smaller dogs as lap dogs. These Indies are amazing. And, to me, these are ancient dogs. These are dogs who've been here for years, and their gene pool is preserved and dynamic, so you don't get all of the genetic issues. And they're readily available. So my advice to you is adopt, don't shop, number one. And number two, if you can, bring an Indie into your life. And number three, if you bring an Indie in, train them hard, train them early. And that should go for any pet, right? And most of that training is not the dog, it's you and me. Because the bottom line is
because you have to understand their body language and, how to behave with them. That's very, very important. And a lot of incidents that you hear is because people don't know that. And I would highly encourage any dog owner to get a trainer in for a few days, because it'll help you better understand your pet.
So there you have it. If you liked what we say, hit the like button. If you wish to see more of these great videos, hit the subscribe button, and always hit the bell icon so we can notify you when the next one's coming out. And then also let us know what you want to hear about. And we're giving you a sneak peek into our lives, and ours are like yours. So leave it in the comments below as to how you deal with this stuff and what experiences you've had. And always pay forward and spread the wealth in terms of the love you give for these animals, and help with different types of groups which support human rights and animal rights, and try to bring us into a better world. So there you have it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.